All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm with TraderGirlQ. You've seen her on Twitter or on X, actually. I guess you could say it's X. It's X. Putting a lot of pertinent information out there. I love reading some of her posts. I have friends that are always sending me her posts. She does a lot of research, a lot of investigative work. And the topic today is the Golden Gate Bridge. Is it going to be around much longer? So that's a question we have. Trader Girl, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I've heard all about your show. I've been seeing your tweets for a long time, so it was awesome to be invited onto your show. I've been following the Golden Gate Bridge for quite some time now, so I'd love to talk about it. What kind of questions do you have?
Well, okay, so man, here we go. This is a kind of a deep rabbit hole. I mean, we saw what happened in the Baltimore Bridge. We know that that was, a terrorist hit, an inside job, just like 9/11, obviously, from the deep state. You have reason to believe that the Golden Gate Bridge will be the next target, and if not the next target, somewhere down the line, it's going to get hit and taken down, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Elon Musk posted on September 11th, 2023, an image of the Golden Gate Bridge with the tagline "Must be great nets." And he was referring to the 400 million that was spent on suicide nets, which was approved by Nancy Pelosi. So I thought September 11th was a very strange day to be posting of a landmark such as the Golden Gate. And then if you look at it closer, you
But
realize that
do you think maybe he was referring to must be greatness because a lot of people do self delete off that bridge, right? They jump to their death. And then what Pelosi spent money on those nets. I stood at the Golden Gate Bridge, and I'll tell you this right now, Trader Girl. I was with my buddy Steve, and I was like, I just don't believe. I just felt it in my gut. I was like, and I was standing on the bridge, looking down, looking at the nets. This is last year, and I remember telling my friend, man, I just don't believe that this bridge is going to be around much longer. I just felt it. It was weird.
Yeah, I mean, great question. And so if you look at this post from first glance, you could obviously realize that he's talking about the suicide nets and just leave it at that and say, okay, he's posting about waste management. But you see that it's posted on 9/11, which is a day that's dedicated to the Twin Towers and the terrorist attack that happened. And then you notice the fact that the Golden Gate Bridge has the same two pillars, just like the two towers.
Ooh.
So I thought that was very interesting as well. If you look into the suicide nets deeper, you start to realize that the
Call
400
them self-deleting nets just for the sake of fluff tube. Okay.
well, so when you look into San Francisco, based on Google, all you're going to find is Alcatraz tickets and go to the Golden Gate Bridge and everything the narrative wants you to find. They set up search that way intentionally. So distractions. They talk about Alcatraz. They talk about their tourist attractions. This way, you never find information about anything else. But when you start to research it deeper, you actually begin to realize that there's a very satanic situation going on in San Francisco. zero point 0.3 miles away from the Golden Gate Bridge is the Church of Satan. And that's where
Really?
they worship. Yeah, and that's where they worship Baphomet. Now, think of that and think about the fact that there's suicide nets and they're calling attention to suicides. So if you start researching when the Church of Satan was founded in 1966 and you start looking into all the suicides that have happened zero point 0.3 miles away, there's been over 3,000 suicides off that bridge since the Church of Satan has been founded. So,
Is this it right here, the Black House?
yeah, the Black House Church of Satan, yep.
Wow, and this is in San Francisco.
So that's in San Francisco, and it's 0.3 miles away from the bridge, and it's founded by Anton Levy.
Wow.
So what gets really interesting is right less than a mile away from there is the Hannibal Club, the Hannibal Lodge, founded by the Collins family. Now, if you remember, I don't know if you watched Trump's rallies, but Trump has called attention to Hannibal Lecter a lot this year. So
Yeah.
the yeah, so the Hannibal Club is literally dedicated to exactly what you think it would be dedicated to. So cannibalism is a huge thing in San Francisco. They even have,
It's called the Hannibal
rest
Club in San Francisco.
the Hannibal Lodge.
Oh, well, I'm sure it'll pull up. Jeez.
It'll probably pull it up with that
There
too.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, so it was founded by the Collins family.
What is this?
So you're starting to see this dark picture that's being painted, and it's all within
They're having a
mile
golf
from the
classic.
bridge. And so with all these suicides, there's even one that's tied to the Kennedys that happened, and all of the suicides started after the Church of Satan was founded. But here's where it gets really crazy. So CBS, aka Columbia Broadcasting Service, Columbia is the CIA, and Columbia was headquartered, CBS was headquartered in San Francisco during this time. And so everybody's wondering why all of our celebrities and all our false idols are Satanists. And it's because they're all right in the same community. They were all founded in this area at the same time. Because Colombia, we used to be the United States, or we are the United States of America, but we used to be the Republic of Colombia before we were bought out by the United States of America Corporation.
Right.
And Colombia is the CIA, Columbia Records, Columbia Pictures, District of Columbia. One makes the policies and one influences the policies. And so Columbia was headquartered in San Francisco next to the church. And so at that time, this is why all of our celebrities are all Satanists, because they're all founded in the same time from the same area.
Interesting. Wow. So let's get into this tweet you put up, or this post, I gotta say, this X post. San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge is the mark of a Black Swan event that leads to the Great Awakening. So you believe this will be an event that'll happen, that'll kickstart the Great Awakening. I mean, the Great Awakening has already happened for most, or I'd like to think, but I guess maybe for some, because there's a lot of people still that are very fast asleep.
Yes, so Q, everybody thinks that Q started this movement 7 years ago, but in reality, this has been happening behind the scenes for longer than many of us have been born. Q was basically the 7-year tribulation to wake up as many as possible before the grand finale for everything that's about to be declassified. And so when you start to piece the puzzle together, because Q specifically says, learn to read the map. It's not just the Q jobs, future proves past. And there's a lot of information from a lot of different sources. And so Operation Mockingbird puts the truth in plain sight through our music and through our movies. And so you can see that the Golden Gate Bridge was destroyed in over 15 movies. Just like it's been...
the Golden Gate Bridge has been destroyed in over 15 movies.
Yes.
I mean, I know there was pre-programming even for the Twin Towers.
I've seen a lot of movies that do Back to the Future is a perfect example where you can see.
Right.
Yeah, you can see a lot of the programming for the Twin Towers and Back to the Future. But yeah, so they're putting it in front of your face, especially in the newer movies, because now that white hats are in control, they're trying to put it in as many movies as possible so that when it happens, it triggers that realization to the people that are still asleep. And it says, wait, I saw that in a movie. And then it lets them start to put that connection together that, hey, maybe this was pre-planned. Maybe everything isn't exactly what we've been thinking it was this entire time. So
when do you think what date do you think this Black Swan event will happen?
Well, so Q says never specifically calls attention to the Golden Gate Bridge. They say 5-5, watch California, watch New York. New York would be the Statue of Liberty, which was also destroyed in over 10 movies. The Statue of Liberty represents Lady Columbia, aka the Republic of Colombia, our slavery to the CIA. So
I mean, I've heard it also represents Lucifer.
It does, because they're all Satanists, so it does also represent
the
Lucifer.
shackle on his leg.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep. So we're
bearing the light bearer, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we're slaves to the satanic CIA, essentially, is the short version of that. So by destroying the Lady Columbia, it's representing that the slaves are now set free. And then the Golden Gate Bridge. So what Q says is 5-5, watch California, watch New York. There's no specific date, and they don't specifically call attention to what date is going to happen. But May 5th, everybody was waiting to see if something happened, right? So it's interesting because May 5th was the start of Puff Daddy's jury selection.
Right.
And so Puff Daddy was, his house was raided on March 25th. And then on March 26th, because they needed a distraction, they took out the Baltimore Bridge. So now we got Puff Daddy's jury selection happening. And here I am talking about a bridge that looks like it's going to be the Black Swan. So I think this is definitely the next target.
So
As far,
so you think this could happen this month?
I'm definitely thinking it's going to happen this month. If you look into the numerology behind everything, it's definitely foreshadowing that it could be in the coming days to this month for sure. Q represents 10717, the 17th letter of the alphabet. And JFK was a good portion of this. JFK was buried in a Q grave. Q represents quantum as well, right? And so JFK turned 107 years old this year. This is his 107th year. He turns 108 years old on May 29th. So the number is 107. It's not 108. So I think we're going to see it before May 29th, before
Really?
JFK's 108th birthday.
And you think you think this Diddy trial? What's your thoughts on this Diddy trial? A white hat operation or black hat? Because I was thinking it's a distraction.
Oh, absolutely. So back to San Francisco and the CBS and the CIA. So Clive Davis was the one that was the president and the head of the CIA and CBS during this time frame. And Clive Davis is the one that founded Bad Boys record label with Puff Daddy / P. Diddy. Mm-hmm. So that's how the connections work. So Puff Daddy, R. Kelly, Weinstein, Epstein, all of these different trials, they're all spinning a web that is going to basically implement the highest levels of power in both government and Hollywood. And the reason why is because during D-Class, they need to show irrefutable proof to everybody that's asleep. Because if you start name dropping every single one of these people's false idols, right, you better have the proof to back it up, because if you don't, they're not going to believe you. And you only have one shot at this to relay this information and make it so that these people start to wake up and realize that this is really happening. So they need to do it right.
Okay, so the P. Diddy is obviously the precursor to the Epstein list.
Yeah, so P. Diddy ties into NXIVM as well as Epstein. NXIVM is the piece of the web that nobody talks about. But Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs, whatever you want to call him, he was really close friends with Naomi Campbell. And Naomi Campbell is tied to Maxwell, and she's tied to Epstein. If you look into Naomi Campbell, her house is in the shape of the Eye of Ra, which is what a lot of these people, yeah, if you Google it, it's crazy looking. But
Naomi Campbell's house.
Yeah.
Our house. This it right here. Where's the boom. Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more obvious than that, huh?
Wow.
What? The Illuminati, front and center.
She's on an island as well?
Yeah. So they all have islands. And so Puff Daddy is close to Naomi Campbell. They're really close friends, as well as Snoop Dogg. And Snoop Dogg is the owner of Death Row Records. Death Row Records, if you remember Tupac and Biggie and the 90s. So this is where Puff Daddy comes into play, or P. Diddy. I hate the name P. Diddy. I'm so used to growing up in the 90s. But back in the 90s, the biggest scandal that happened was the feud over Tupac and Biggie and Tupac's death and all of that, right?
Right.
So the Great Awakening is going to reveal the truth to the masses that Operation Mockingbird has been lying to the people the entire time. So Puff Daddy is front and center right now because one of the biggest lies that we ever told was the feud between Biggie, Tupac, and Puff Daddy, and what led to Tupac's death and Biggie's death. So how do you show the world?
Diddy was behind all of it.
No, they're still alive.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
So Tupac actually was convicted and found guilty right before his death, just like Epstein. Imagine that. His trial began, he was indicted, and then he committed suicide. So that if you are a celebrity,
that's going really deep down that rabbit hole. I mean,
So here's the thing. If you're in the CIA, which they are, they signed a deal with the devil on the dotted line. And if they come out and say that this person has been found guilty of sex crimes, sex trafficking, anything like that, their album sales plummet. However, if they kill them off in the public eye, they're then able to raise the price of their album sales, sell a ton of them, and then
Right.
release more music posthumously after the
True.
fact. So they make a lot more money by killing these
And
people
they're able
off.
to go into obscurity and live a private life.
Exactly. And when you start to learn the truth about Operation Mockingbird, their names aren't their names. Tupac's not Tupac, Diddy's not Diddy. These are all names that were given to them in the CIA, along with their narrative, everything about their family, their everything. It's all fake. It's all
So do you
generated.
think that P. Diddy is being used as a sacrificial lamb?
I think he is going to be what's going to lead to the reveal that everything that we've been watching for the past umpteen years is fake. Because the only way to show the truth or the only way that people will believe it is to show them. And so you're not going to open the doors to 9/11 and reopen those old wounds when everybody watched it on television and knows what they saw. You're not going to reopen those doors unless you find an in and you reveal something in the present. And that's where I think the Golden Gate Bridge comes into play. Because when the Black Swan event happens on the Golden Gate Bridge, they can use Hollywood theatrics to take out the bridge. And this will expose the crimes from all the bodies that wash ashore, which are tied to the Church of Satan, which the Zodiac killer, he was also rampant in that time
But they
frame.
are going to take down your. What do you mean Hollywood theatrics to show the bridge coming down? It will come. It'll actually be bombed and taken down. Correct?
Not necessarily. That's the question, right? We're not the ones that are in charge, but I've been watching this bridge since I've been researching it, and I've watched how they've made this bridge disappear using fog from HARP to the point where you don't even know that the bridge is there. They've covered it so massively with fog. So you could technically use a cordon to shut off the bridge, ensure that nobody can go over the bridge, use a police cordon, shut it off, use fog, and then create Hollywood theatrics for the rest to create a massive an illusion. And with that illusion, you then are able to use TV, Operation Mockingbird, show everybody that it's been bombed with a terrorist attack, put people like George Floyd and Ashley Babbitt and crisis actors of the past in the footage, make everybody believe it, and then in a day or two, reveal the man behind the curtain and show the truth and show the bridge is still there and how you've been manipulated. And once they're able to show you you've been manipulated about that, they're able to show you that you've been manipulated by the TV for the last 20, 30, 40 years since it's been created.
And it breaks the spell right there.
That breaks the spell and introduces D-Class.
All right, this is going really far down the rabbit hole, folks. I hope you're keeping up with us here.
Well, back to the bridge concept. So the Zodiac killer was rampant during the same time frame that the Church of Satan was founded, and what you start to realize if you pull up the map of all of the killings centered right in the area right between the Church of Satan.
What do I pull up? A map of the Zodiac killer?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep, map of the Zodiac killings.
This is interesting.
And then just go to images.
Where's the images? Oh, yeah, there you go. Boom. All right, these are which one here? Bing.
Hit the gray one down at the bottom.
Right here.
Keep going down, go down. One more, go down. Right there, the second one in.
This one here?
Yep.
Okay, so this is what now?
Yeah, so this is the map of the locations within San Francisco for the Zodiac murders. Now, they never found it. They never found the Zodiac killer. However, if you look at the locations, you have the Church of Satan, you have the Hannibal Club, Charles Manson was right in the center here. And then you had CBS, aka headquarters for the CIA. So all the murders happened right in this general vicinity, and all the celebrity homes are right on the other side of the Presidio. So my theory is that the Zodiac killer didn't actually exist. That's why they didn't find him. But by creating this fictitious person, because you had the highest levels of government.
Oh, so they were being done by the Church of Satan.
So they were being done by the Church of Satan, which all the people that belonged to the church were celebrities in government, because Anton Levy believed that if you start off getting people in government and politicians and celebrities, you're going to get fame, power, and notoriety. So that was his goal. So basically, they created somebody and said, look for this guy. And then that takes the eyes off of the Church of Satan and the crimes that are happening.
Wow.
So I don't think there's a Zodiac killer at all. And I think when everything happens and the bodies come ashore from the bay, we have new forensic technology. They're going to reveal the truth about the church and what was happening, as well as the truth about the Zodiac killer. So all of these missing people and all these deaths are going to have a realization. All the families that have been waiting for truth about their family members for all this time, I think, are finally going to get it.
And
all
the
these years
Zodiac
later.
killer, I mean, he killed people according to the Zodiac calendar, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yes.
would go along with the Church of Satan pretty precisely.
Yeah, and so if you look into the suicides that happened, you have to set your search engine back in order to find any real truth back before 2016 when Trump took office. So if you start researching what happened back in those days when the Church of Satan was founded, you'll start seeing that all of a sudden suicides off the bridge started taking off. And you started seeing a lot of suicides. There was over 1,500 suicides in less than 5 years at one point. And so my theory is that they started labeling them suicides and created the Zodiac killer's profile so that people wouldn't be looking at the Church of Satan this entire time.
So when did they start the demographics, suicide rate demographics? Is it 2020, 2024? There's 681. What? So it's 27 a year?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, so and then when you start to look at Alcatraz, Trump tweeted about Alcatraz on May 4th.
That's more than twice a month, man. Someone's jumping off that thing, but not anymore because the nets are up, right?
Supposedly that's what the nets are supposed to be used for. But so Robert F. Kennedy shut down Alcatraz in 1963 before he was assassinated in 1968. And when you start to research Alcatraz, you'll realize that there was actually tunnels underneath Alcatraz.
Right.
And by shutting down the prison for saltwater erosion and escaped prisoners, it gave them the ability to import off of the West Coast without scrutiny. So they were able to import people, as in child trafficking, as well as organ harvesting, drugs, you name it, anything the mafia and the government wanted to import. It was their secret import-export off of the West Coast. So the tunnels actually go through Alcatraz right into the heart of San Francisco. So
under the ocean, I guess, huh?
Yeah, the ocean. So when Nancy Pelosi agreed for the 400 million for expensive nets, I think one of the things that Elon was alluding to was that they were actually 400 million was being used for tunnels, more tunnels.
So by Trump saying we're going to reopen Alcatraz, he's taking that over, I guess.
Well, so Trump basically confirmed 5/5, in my opinion, when he talked about Alcatraz on May 4th, because May 5th's drop is Watch California, Watch New York on 5/5. That drop was from July 11th.
But nothing happened.
Well, nothing happened, but Q gives you crumbs, and those crumbs are meant to make the user research and find information, but it's a military strategic strategy, and you can't basically tell, because we're not the only ones looking at those boards. The enemies are looking at those boards too, right? And they have billions of dollars spent in trying to understand the plan, right, to make sure that it doesn't happen. So they're trying to give you just enough so that you can research and begin to awaken and understand things without giving away their entire strategy. So I think 5/5 was a marker. Like I said, I think John F. Kennedy's birthday on May 29th, I think it will happen before then. That's my theory based on numerology. I think 5/5 could have been the week of May 5th. potentially. Could be what they were
Well,
talking
I've
about.
had many people on talking about May being a very crucial, critical month. I've also heard the number in 29 be spoken about many times. Juanito has been on my show many times talking about 107 has talked about, the 29th being a very critical day. Does that add up to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So they use numerology for everything. So if they talk in a press release to us, they're talking to us via letters, but they're actually talking to each other via numbers. And that's when I really started to put the puzzle together, was when I started to see the numerology correlation to everything. Elon Musk said 7-Eleven on the summer solstice. And that was, alluded to the fact that 7-Eleven is the fall of the Roman Empire. And he's mentioned over the last 3 years that Rome will fall over a dozen times. So Rome will fall. He's also mentioned 7-Eleven is also Genesis, the flood. So the flood began and lasted for 40 days, and we're waiting for the flood of D-class. So there's a lot of things that tie into his comment about 7-Eleven, and 7-Eleven follows us in numerology all the time. But May 29th is exactly 1,071 days from the day that he sent that tweet.
So you're saying May 29th could be very significant.
Yeah, I think
the beginning of the Black Swan.
May 29th could be very significant. I also think that May 17th is significant because that's 7,001 days from the day V for Vendetta was released. And V for Vendetta, just like Independence Day, is kind of their playbook. So much information in those two movies.
Wow. Is there any other significant landmarks that you think could be hit besides the Golden Gate Bridge?
So I think the Golden Gate Bridge and the Statue of Liberty, for sure. I know that based off of my research. I think that
if the globalists get their way, though, right? I mean, this could be all thwarted, right? Or do you think we let them do this?
No, this is the White Hats doing this. Like I was saying with the illusion aspect, they just announced that they were releasing.
So why would they need to do this? Why would they need to do this? To wake more people up?
They need to reveal the fact that everybody's been lied to by the TV their entire lives. If you notice with the left, right, every week there's a new flag on their lawn. This week they're supporting Ukraine. Next week there was Biden, VP Harris, Ukraine, LGBTQ. Every week there's something that they got a flag on their lawn for, and they're always only getting one side.
Salt Lake City is introducing new transgender gay flags because they got stopped with the last one, so now they're introducing new ones.
Exactly. So they always only get one side of the story too, and they never do much researching into it, but they think they know everything about it. So at some point, everything is about to reveal. I think with these Black Swan events, they're about to lift the veil and show the fact that the world has been manipulated by the television set. And once they're able to do that, they're able to declassify the truth of what actually happened.
What is the significance of Elton John's Yellow Brick Road?
Yeah, so Elton John.
Music part of this.
So Wizard of Oz is the backbone behind all of this, and you can see it in their lyrics. And Elton John's lyrics behind the Yellow Brick Road actually tell a story of child trafficking and pedophilia that happens. And so basically a child gets brought into the tunnels of Alcatraz and comes up into Grace Cathedral. And right next to Grace Cathedral is the Bohemian Club, aka
Whoa. So the Alcatraz leads to Grace Cathedral?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Grace Cathedral has
the Grey or
Grace, Grace.
No, Grace. In San Francisco, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so Grace Cathedral has the doors from Mars Temple on it. So it's their Mars worshiping cathedral. And Mars worship is the worshiping of war and sacrifice.
So you're telling me that you believe, allegedly, that the Alcatraz tunnels dump into here?
Yep, that's one of the locations that it dumps into. So this church has the doors from Mars Temple, the Roman god of war and sacrifice. And George Bush and George Bush Sr. belong to this church. So now you get the president that was tied to the war on terror, tied to the church dedicated to Mars and Mars worship, which is the god of war. And he's the president during the war.
Musk with the Mars obsession?
So that's just it. So the Roman god of war and sacrifice, and we've lived in a perpetual state of war and sacrifice. So Mars is a multiple meaning. Every time you mention Mars in the news, you're bearing any information about Mars worship. Mars worship was the original form of Satanism. So
Elon Musk is saying this.
So Bruno Mars, 30 Seconds to Mars, any movie about Mars, the planet Mars, Elon going to Mars, it all bears any information about Mars worship. So you'll notice the Golden Gate Bridge is symbolic for the gateway to Mars, which Elon talks about all the time because it's the gateway to Satanism. So you'll notice that Trump keeps saying.
Whoa. Who does Elon work for? The black hats or the white hats? Or is he being intercepted?
He's been intercepted. He's 2.0 at this point. That or he's controlled opposition one way or another. He's doing exactly what they want him to be doing at this point in time. So Trump keeps saying, that we're going to go to Mars, or by the time his presidency is over, we're going to go to Mars. That's because they're about to expose the truth about Mars and the fact that we lived in a state of Mars perpetual worship, which is Satanism. It was the original form of it. So Grace Cathedral is very important because it connects us to George Bush and Aleister Crowley and the New World Order. And within Grace Cathedral, you have the labyrinths, which are just like the movie Labyrinth, where David Bowie kidnaps a child and takes him to the underground. Yeah. That's exactly what's happening here. So the very next building is, or maybe not the next one, but right on the same street is a Bohemian Club. And you can follow. Mm-hmm.
On the same street.
Yep.
Bohemian
Club.
Bohemian Club, I guess.
And it's got the Freemason symbols all over it.
Oh yeah, it does. Look at
that. so
man, you've really been doing your research, haven't you?
It's crazy, and the way that they name their streets and everything, it's just so telling. I've done so many posts on all of the names on the streets, but you can literally go right over the Golden Gate Bridge and take the yellow brick road right to the actual Bohemian Grove in Monterio. So they put it right in front of your face. And as far as the gold is concerned, we've been lied to about that too. Trump keeps talking about how we have liquid gold under our feet and gold's going to destroy the Fed. And the reason why is because before we were the United States of America, after we were the Republic of Colombia, California was New Spain. And New Spain is where Cortez founded the gold, the Aztec gold. That's why it used to be the Strait of Cortez, not the Strait of Mexico. So the Aztec gold is under our feet in California. So they told you about the California gold rush, but they admitted just how much gold is there, which is why symbolism is going to be their downfall. One bridge will fall and the other bridge will rise. Q says, find the bridge through linking. One will fall, the other will rise. And that's the Golden Gate Bridge will fall and golden-backed currency will rise. So they can make an illusion.
It would also be very symbolic to take down the Golden Gate Bridge. Very symbolic.
Exactly. But they can do it in a way where they shut it down and they close off traffic and everything so they don't have to kill everybody. So it doesn't have to be a mass killing spree to still get the same job done. I want to make sure I clarify that because a lot of people just envision mass destruction, which is 100% possible. But if the white hats are better than the black hats, they're not going to kill a bunch of innocent people to wake everybody up. That would defeat the purpose.
What is this right here that I'm looking at?
Oh, the date calculator?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I use that to do numerology correlation.
Okay.
And so you can see October 4th, 2023, that was the day that we got the emergency broadcast test message.
Right.
Yeah, so that
has not been used since.
What's that?
That hasn't been used since.
Nope. So let's see.
So we're due for it.
It's been 1 year, 7 months, I believe. Let me pull it up. Because that's an important date to find out when the emergency broadcast. They
wouldn't just test that if they're not going to use it,
Oh, they're absolutely going to use it when they're ready. So it's been 1 year and 7 months since the EBS test alert. So 1 year, 7 months, and 10 days. If they're not going to do it now, this week, 1 year, 7 months, 10 days would be 7/11, like Elon said, the go code.
Wow.
So everything they do is tied down to the numerology, and people don't understand that, and they fight me on it tooth and nail. But you can actually pull it up visually and see for yourself. Prince Philip died, and then Queen Elizabeth died exactly 17 months later to the day. And then the Maui fires happened, and 17 months later to the day was the Palisades fires in Los Angeles. So they're telling everybody in the numbers what's happening.
Huh.
That's why they always say patriots are in control, trust the plan. And if you pull up the numerology and you see that it's been exactly 17 months or 17 years or 17 days, 17 in the number, you know who's in control of it. So it's
Right.
happening for a reason.
Breaking
It's crazy once you realize the numerology aspect to it and the Operation Mockingbird and how they've been putting all the information in our movies, in our music, everything, because it just shows you how long this plan has been going on for, that they've been able to put the message in all of these little details.
So the Golden Gate Bridge in 1937 cost $700 million. Took 4 years. The Golden Gate Bridge nets took $400 million in 6 years. Jeez, that just seems ridiculous.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the day that Gavin Newsom went to the Golden Gate Bridge on May 5th of last year, exactly 5 months, 5 days later, was Gavin Newsom's birthday on October 10th. And so on the day that he went, there's your 5-5 correlation.
Wow.
Right. And on May 5th, when he went to the Golden Gate Bridge, that was Henry Cavill's birthday. Henry Cavill played Superman. October 10th, his birthday, is the day that Christopher Reeves died, aka Superman. And Superman 1978 was where the Golden Gate Bridge was destroyed. So now you're connecting Superman to the Golden Gate Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge being destroyed. But here's where it gets really crazy. Christopher Reeves was paralyzed on May 27th. May 27th was the same exact day that Golden Gate Bridge opened for the first time.
Very.
I see the wheels turning.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know at the very core of this is the numerology. I know at the very core of this, even on a spiritual level. You know, that's
Yes.
the way it works.
Yeah, so Henry Kissinger was born that same day, and he warned the world of superheroes before he died, or superhumans before he died. And so if you notice, in the past 6 months, they've been posting Superman all over the place. Elon's posting, Trump's posting Superman, everybody's posting Superman. And James Gunn just announced the new Superman movie. So Superman has a huge tie in all of this. And the reason why you'll begin to learn the multiple meanings that do exist. The Golden Gate Bridge represents the gateway to Mars, and it represents the gateway between God and man. It also represents the gateway, the eastern gate of Israel, which is the coming of the Messiah. So there's yeah, and they said saving Israel for last. That's what Q always says, saving Israel for last. So this one bridge represents so many different things.
Gateway to Mars, gateway to God and man, and gateway to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Man, yeah.
So there's so many meanings behind this one this one bridge being the target. And we're about to go into the golden era.
Oh yeah.
So one bridge will fall and another.
What does that have to do? That's a big calm right there.
Yep, so one bridge will fall and another bridge will rise. Golden backed currency will rise. And so if you look up Tacoma Narrows Bridge, you'll see that was the twin flame of Golden Gate Bridge. And that bridge collapsed on November 7th. There's your 7-Eleven again. And it's literally a replica of Golden Gate Bridge, but it's based in Seattle. And Seattle is the hub of Mars. That's where Mars candy is.
Jeez.
So
what else do you do with your time?
so they're putting all of it out there, and once you see, you can't unsee. It's just so a lot of people like to say that, you know, Q's not real and all of this stuff, but there's so much more to it than that. Q gives you breadcrumbs, and it's up for you to do the research. And once you start doing the research and you start seeing how everything is connected, you can't unsee it. And you're like, I know
You
something is
cannot
happening.
unsee this stuff. No, you cannot. Wow. So we got to be looking at the month of May, specifically May 29th, right?
Yeah, so if you remember, Ivanka Trump posted by June 2nd, we will be living in a new world. We're about to get some upgrades. And Elon Musk posted on January 2nd, exactly 55 weeks from June 2nd. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. So I absolutely believe that by the end of May, on May 29th, I think we're going to see some big changes. And QPO 75 specifically says that by the time POTUS returns from his trip, the world will be a different place. And the world is going to be a different place because they're about to flip the switch onto quantum energy. And Secretary Jennifer Granholm flipped the switch at the Empire State Building in Green, Department of the Energy Secretary, 55 weeks from this week. He goes to Saudi Arabia next week, so that's his trip. So I definitely think that we're about to see the switch onto quantum energy. If you look at the quantum stocks today, they're skyrocketing. So I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're about to make some upgrades, like she said.
Wow. All right, folks, you know what to do. Do your research. I just bring the information. It's up to you to do what you want with it. So, Trader Q Girl or Trader Girl Q, thank you so much for joining me. I'd love to have you back on again, especially if this event happens. Be great to have you on again.
Thanks, definitely. Thank you for having me. I'll be doing the Revival of America tonight. I'm on X all the time talking about my conspiracies. And then I have a Rumble channel as well where I go into the deep dives of all of the stuff. That way I can show all of the different connections as well.
All right, it's TraderGirlQ on X and on Rumble.
Yeah, and on Rumble.
Wow. All right. So there's a lot to digest here. I'll let my audience do that. They like to do their own research and investigate themselves. So I really appreciate you coming on, Trader Girl. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
God bless you.
Bye.
All right, folks.